content day.
I started it early.
You're like,
Sorry.
daily I give away free content, but not that kind of content.
Oh! Woo! Hey, we are talking about that.
Wow.
Way to start. Way to start.
So, peek into Addison and Kendall's conversations when Addison doesn't know
Now we're going live.
that we're going live. And we're talking about sending sexual content.
I'm sorry, I accidentally pushed the button and I was mid-sentence. Yes, we don't give away that kind of free content.
That's not the kind of free
That's
content.
do not message me about giving away that sort of free content. Because it's no. It's a no. But come on, Kendall.
I'm glad you hit the button.
You're like, yeah, we don't give away that. So,
We crack ourselves. Obviously. So today we actually are talking about sex. We never talk about sex, but on this channel,
we talk about it a lot.
we talk about sex all the time.
Private coaching worlds.
Yep. In
Or
our
in
personal life.
In my kitchen.
Your kitchen is a good place to talk about sex.
Kitchen.
It is.
My kitchen is like coaching central, opinionated coaching center of the Dallas
And we
area.
get raw and real
And
in your
it's very
kitchen.
raw and very real in my kitchen, and yeah, my guy keeps insisting that we should install cameras and do like the live, the real life TV stuff. Except it really would be real life. There would be no acting in it. Like
No.
the stuff you can't even make up happens in my kitchen, or in my back patio, or in my living room. And in my world. Yeah, you cannot make that up at all. I'm just not happy with this light.
I'm not happy with that lighting. There, I can see your face.
Hey, there we go.
Actually, maybe you don't want to see your face, though. Put it back.
I'm gonna throw. I have chai, and I'm gonna throw it at you.
So, okay, but we are talking
Words are
about...
gonna come out of my mouth pretty soon. Start with a B, end with an H. Remember, I was just telling you about, like, we can go camping in Arizona to meet Jason, and I'm not going to tell you about it. Where it's going to just be, you're red, you're dead in Arizona, you see? There's a really cool, I just saw it on Facebook, a camping trip to go survive Jason.
Very cool.
Alright, that's not sex.
I'm not going camping with her. But we are talking about not Jason. No,
Well,
there
maybe.
could be Jasons involved.
I've slept with a Jason.
I slept with a couple Jasons.
Wow! But were you safe with Jason? I
Yes.
was and I wasn't.
I was safe with Jason.
I had a moment with Jason. Different Jason. So we think. But who truly knows?
Yeah, you never know. And I think that is really, and we've actually been on this topic for, like, so in my Addison the Least and Your Conscious Coffees, we've both been really talking about this topic about sex and safety, because I think adults suck at safe sex.
We did.
Especially, and I don't mean to hate on the older, but older generations are actually worse than our younger generations right now.
Yeah, and
In some ways.
and older, what I think you're really meaning, because I mean, here's where I see the late 40s and up
Yes.
being really edgy about their sex, but they are nonchalant about it. They're just like, yeah, well, I haven't had my period for 15 years or for 5 years, so I have nothing to worry about.
vasectomy.
Or I got a vasectomy 10 years ago, so
Yeah.
I'm safe. And the woman's going, yeah, I haven't had a period for this period of time, so I'm safe. And safe sex.
Or he pulls out. He pulls out every time.
Safe sex is not about pregnancy.
I mean, that is a piece.
It is at the end
But
of the
it
list.
is like,
I'm
yes.
sorry, it's at the end of my list. And I'm still
So-
very fertile. And
Yes.
you don't have any children. But
Not the end of my...
there is a million and one
Yes.
other things
Yes,
that
there
is
are.
above
Yes.
getting pregnant when it comes to safety.
Yes, I would
When
agree.
it comes to safety.
Because both of us could still pop out a baby.
Yes.
Physically. And yeah, it's not the top of the
Just
list.
because you're on birth control, or because you're clipped, or because your period doesn't exist anymore, you've had a hysterectomy or something like that, then, you know, it does not, I mean, that's just, if that is your definition of safe sex, that you are on some sort of birth control, or that you can't get pregnant, or you can't get somebody pregnant, then you need to readjust your definition of safe sex. And here's why.
And even I think the typical safe sex of like when we talk about STDs, STIs as they're called now, you know, back in the old days, starting to feel old.
Wow.
Okay,
tell me about these old days.
But in the old,
wait,
tomorrow
you're
Wednesday.
middle aged? Wait, Wednesday you're considering that middle aged?
Ish. Like middle age, it is technically.
How are you only planning to live to be like 65, my dear?
No.
Then that would be middle age.
Moving on.
I mean, I'm going for 130. So you know I'm not even at middle age yet, because talk to me around 75, then I'll talk to you about middle age.
All right. But back in the old days of STDs and when we called them STDs and not STIs, the truth is, like, we that was what people focused on of safe sex, but there actually is more than just even getting infections, diseases to worry about too. I mean, there's safety as far as just emotional safety with somebody. There is energetic safety in sex. As tantric practitioners, we talk so much about energy and exchanging of energy. So there is that level of safe sex. There is also safe sex in terms of like sugar babies and all of that is happening. Like, that's a thing these days. It is. It's a thing.
So tell me,
that's happening these days.
If a guy has a vasectomy and he has 3 sugar babies, and he uses a condom with one sugar baby, but he goes bare sex with the other 2.
Sounds like a math problem. A really bad
How many
math.
challenges could arise from this situation?
Million.
But all 3 sugar babies tell him that he's the only one. Who believes the sugar babies? Not I.
Nobody.
I don't believe the sugar babies.
Here's the deal. I don't believe the married man. I don't believe I actually believe the married man less than
I would go out of business if that was true right there.
If
actually,
married-
because if
or
married people did not,
woman
if
too.
married people actually only had sex with the person that they were married to, we
wouldn't be in business.
We would definitely lose 75%
Yeah,
of our
we
business.
would still be in business, but a lot of our business would be
a large
gone.
percentage of my clientele would not even be showing up
Nope.
if that was the case.
Married Christian or spirit, like highly spiritual,
Yes.
we're monogamous relationships, and they're the ones that are like, surprise, I have a disease. Where did gonorrhea come from?
Yeah.
Happy anniversary, baby.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's that,
And
that happens
and
so often.
disease is definitely, everybody goes, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It
can be a huge
you
deal.
you can see herpes, right?
No, you can't.
Actually, when it's the most contagious, you can't see it. Right before it erupts, you can't see it. And here's the thing, if somebody has a cold sore here and they go down there, guess who's now got herpes down there? Whoever was being gone down on. And herpes is like 60% of the population carries one form of herpes or another. And there is more than one form.
There's
There's
actually
a lot.
hundreds of
There's a
there's
lot.
a
There's a
ton of forms
There's
of
a lot.
herpes.
And then you have the diseases that we don't even talk about, like hepatitis B and hepatitis A and hepatitis C. You have to get tested for hepatitis if you work in the back of a restaurant. You have to get tested for hepatitis. Yet you'll bed somebody with bare sex and never ask them if they have hepatitis because you
Yep.
don't think to ask them about
Intimacy
hepatitis.
share story. I actually was with somebody for a while, and I asked. I'm like awesome about. I'm like, good job, Kristen. But because of what I do, I actually am awesome.
Sorry.
Don't pat me on the head.
Before you go to that midlife stage when I can't do it anymore.
I can't flip you off on camera, and we can't keep this video.
I hope that it's not a picture of me going like this.
I hope not. But so I'm actually really good about talking with my partners, and I asked this gentleman actually 2 separate times directly, do you have anything? Is there anything? And we hadn't had sex yet. And then we were going to have this big romantic evening. And what ended up happening is I found out through means that this man potentially actually did have something. And I asked one last time, and then I started listing shit off.
You had to get very
I got
specific.
incredibly specific. And he was like, oh, by the way, yeah, I do have hepatitis. And I was like, why did you want, like, well, it's not that big of a deal, and the chances of you getting it, and on with the stories. And I don't want to poke at just this one person, because I think that this happens all the time. We don't realize, well, we might realize, but there's all these diseases, and we might not see them as a big deal if we have them, but we don't give that other person the opportunity to be like, yeah, I'm not.
Well, that's where the scary part comes in, right? Because if you tell somebody, and we'll just use hepatitis, because hepatitis is not considered a sexually transmitted disease.
But it can be.
It's not on the list, but it actually can be. I mean, I have family members that have hepatitis C, had gotten it back in Vietnam, and brought it home, did not know that they had it for all this time, and actually transferred it off to 2 other people who were the opposite sex, and now all 3 of them have hepatitis C. So, it is definitely something to consider there. But the thing that we are scared of is that if I say, oh, I have herpes, I have hepatitis C, I have whatever it is, right? Then what are we doing? If we actually are truthful with the other person, then they go,
Yes.
no, I'm not. I'm no longer. I was totally into you, but now I'm not. But now I'm not. Now I'm scared. Now I'm going to reject you. So we do not speak our truth about the diseases that we carry.
Because we're fearful.
Because we're fearful of rejection. We're fearful, and here's the thing. We think, I'm sorry, I'm throwing men under the bus on this one, because it really is.
Well, and here's the deal. We're both women, and so we've been, like...
Women are clueless and will believe, because we have been raised to not ask questions. We have been raised to not speak our truth. We have been raised to not set healthy boundaries. We have been raised to be yes to our partners pretty much at all cost. So that's where women are at. We are shamed and guilted and all this different stuff, and we have been also told that, if a man will not bed you, then, well, what's wrong with you? Type thing. That's that kind of energy that's out there.
Which gets into a different kind of unsafe
spoken
sex.
or not, but that's the reality. And then on the other side, you have men who have not been taught how, anything about their sex either, who have been told, well, it's healthy and good and almost expected for you to go and to explore, to be highly sexual and all this different stuff. And guys all of a sudden become very intuitive when it comes to sex. I found, like, they are just very, very naturally intuitive.
They
are.
They can just sniff that out.
They go. Oh, you look pretty clean. Do you have anything? No. Okay, let's go.
No, got my rabies shots.
And then they go, where did the gonorrhea come from? Where did the chlamydia come from? Where did the herpes come from? Where did the HIV come from? Where?
Or even if you want to even take out that piece, where did this the situation of her saying that I don't mean to get into really tricky territory here, but rape me and things like that, because there's safe sex in other ways too, of conversations and boundaries and consent that we haven't even talked about. And these guys, guys are very good at thinking
they will think
just
that
sniff it out.
Oh, I have this sheet of paper, and I think I shared it with you. I have this sheet of paper that I give to my couples, and even sometimes to single people, and where it talks about different things on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, I love
and then
that.
there's also
piece of paper.
And in there, it talks. One of the things on this scale is about safe sex, do you actually inquire, or do you just go with your judgment? Do you just trust your intuition? Is it gut instinct, or do you actually inquire and ask for evidence? And I have handed that piece of paper to many, many people, many men, some even being my own lovers. I've sat down and shared that piece of paper with. And to my mind-blowing experience, I've never once had a man tell me, never once, 10 years of coaching, 10 years of using the same piece of paper, having plenty of intimate relationship of my own and sharing this content, and I've never ever once had a man tell me that he asked for evidence, or that he actually asked the question of, gone through like you did with this person. I've never, here's the thing, I've never been asked those questions by any man.
I have been asked. I dated one guy, and I remember before he was like, "Let's have a quick conversation." And I was like, "Good job." I don't have to have this conversation first because.
And what did he say? How was his in-depth conversation with
he
you?
actually he was like, "Well, who have you been having sex with?" He actually did get in depth. I was actually like, "Good job."
Yeah, because the only thing that I've ever been asked is, "So is there anything that I need to know?"
Yeah, no, it was actually
question.
It was a more in depth. I would not say we did not spend hours talking about it, but it was a good 45-minute hour conversation of okay, let's talk. Who have you been with? When was the last time you were tested? What are
I haven't been asked any of that.
Yeah, but it was
the
only
one volunteering it and asking.
And it was a very long time ago.
It's
very long time ago.
That's impressive.
But one solo man.
One in your whole sexual career. One man.
One man.
In my whole sexual career, which is a little bit longer than yours because I'm older than you. Sorry.
Yes. And you did
I'm already that over the hill, floating down. Well, when one is not,
as my current man would tell you, you make me violent. So,
hey. No, and so I've never been asked. Other than, is there anything that you need?
You need to tell me?
It goes like this. Is there anything that we need to talk about? No. Good.
So, you guys were not, I really wish you had seen that entire scene, up close, because I'm feeling, no. Please do not, we want to keep our video on Free Spirit Talks.
Okay. That's pretty funny though.
It was disturbing. But I mean, yes, usually I have to be the one asking that question. Not that I mind, but it is very concerning that I do not get that, and I still am dating, and I still don't get that question. I always have to be the one to ask, and then it's a lot of people won't even talk about when they were tested. I'm like, well, when were you last tested? Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know.
I just had this conversation.
You should be
going up under the bus.
You should constantly be tested. That's a thing.
If
that
you
needs
are
to be
having
happening.
more than one sexual partner, and if your other partner could potentially be having more than one sexual partner,
how about it's just good practice to get tested?
In other words,
whether you
should get tested.
everybody
At least
should be
every 6 months. You should go in for just the basic checkup, and we're not talking about listening to the heart and to the lungs here, although that was the conversation I had a conversation with somebody, and I said, well, when was the last time you were tested? And I was like, here was the last time I was tested, here was the results, and this person goes, well, don't they do that stuff at your annual checkup?
No, blood work usually doesn't include that.
And he's like, well, but they took my blood. I'm like, yeah, but did you ask directly for
face palm to that person because I know who it is?
Tested? They took my blood. Was yes, and I said that's why I'm backing up the bus. Beep 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 beep. I love you.
Just totally, you double beeped. That was a double beep beep. Yeah.
No, they took my blood. Is there? And you know what? He's not the only one who has said that.
No.
Because that has been a conversation that I have had numerous times, and that is one of the responses is, well, I went in for my annual, and they said that I was good. So I must be good. Right? They
Nope.
took my blood. They listened to my heart. It's still pounding. My blood.
Your
my
cholesterol is probably good. Your heart is probably good, but that
they
doesn't
did not
mean
actually test. So if you think that just by going in for your annual exam, your annual checkup to see if everything's fine, that they're actually checking everything,
you're wrong.
very, very,
And guess what, ladies? Okay, so we've been hitting on the men, but ladies,
oh yeah, if
you
go
go
in
to
for
the
your-
gynecologist, and the fact is they do. So
They
some gynecologists will. There are gynecologists that will, but they do not test for everything.
you have to sign off. There's a little
Mhm.
piece of paper that you have to sign, and the majority of the times people will go, "No, I'm married,
I don't
so
need
I
that.
don't need that." Right? And they'll ask you. There's a specific
Yes.
piece of paper just for HIV, and then there's another one for like 5 different things.
And yet, that's only a couple. That's not
That's
all
just
of
the
them.
most obvious ones.
That's usually like gonorrhea, chlamydia. I think it's one of the herpes,
yeah.
and
I
like
don't-
2 other. Syphilis.
Yes.
And something else.
So, yeah. I don't know what's on. I can't remember what's on, but yeah.
It's like your.
There's like 4 or 5 on there, and you have to sign another piece of paper if you want HIV, and so it's completely different. But you actually have to sign for those things, and they will not test unless you sign for them. And the majority of women do
sign.
not sign for them, and the majority of women don't sign for them even if they're having sex with more than one man. So it is one of those things that you definitely need to go and explore.
Because the truth is, if you are, even if you had sex with somebody 5-6 years ago, the fact is some of those viruses, illness, diseases, all that
I know
will
somebody
stay
who
with you.
6-7 years ago had sex with a few random people, had a couple moments of the drunken bear sex, even though she was using condoms. She messed up a couple times, didn't think anything about it. She didn't get pregnant, so it was all groovy, right? All good. Nothing immediate happened. There was no felt good, felt strong, no sickness, no nothing. Gets with somebody, gets into a serious relationship, and then ends up going into the doctor for something that had come up, and found out that she had chlamydia. Yeah, found out that she had chlamydia, and it had been in her system for like 5 years. They told her, which is what she's like. It had to have been 5-6 years ago because I have not been with anybody, and this person, he tested negative, and she's like, well, yay, lucky us, right? But it definitely didn't come from here because I'm the one carrying it. You're not. How did we not even exchange luck of the draw?
Mhm.
Quite literally on that, because that's like very rare to be consistent with 5 years. I remember that he went ahead and took the medicine just to make sure, so that there was like no crossover, anything going on. It took like a week of hardcore medicine to get that out of the system. But even carrying chlamydia for 5 years, what her terrifying thing is that carrying something like chlamydia, it will destroy your reproductive organs. So as a woman who does want children in the future, she was like, well, crap, like, am I going to be able to have children now? Because,
And there are also other ones that will actually attack your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'll lose your mental capacity at a certain point, and you might not realize it.
Mm-hmm.
What it is, it might just be like, oh, I'm losing my.
I think that's syphilis, isn't it?
Yeah,
That just,
you will go insane.
was that what
It's an
Al
easy
Capone
fix.
had?
Yeah, I think so. It's the one that had so many people in insane asylums in the early, like back when insane asylums were a thing.
Right.
But it's still around.
Yeah.
And it's an easy get rid of, but you have
to
to
actually
know
know
that you have it.
So no matter how great that bear sex feels, is it worth your life? Because that's really what it is. It's not about, you could, if you're just looking at it as though that is just, it's just about protecting from babies and you got a great pullout game. Well, you could get something on your pullout. You really, really could. But then there is also the safe sex around, there is the speaking of the boundaries, the speaking of the needs, the speaking of, and really the boundaries and the needs is what it is, the non-negotiables. I was talking to a woman the other day who had random bare sex with somebody, first time person, has never even had any of these discussions. When I asked her about, well, what does safe sex mean to you? She said, I can't get pregnant anymore. So what do I have to worry about? And we had this
another face palm.
Right, we had this
face palm conversation.
But then she's having sex. Okay. She's having sex, and there's no foreplay, there's no rub up, there's no lube, there's no nothing, and so it's just going in like friction, hardcore tearing of that fragile skin of the vaginal canal, and then the guy goes for anal without even just goes and tries it again. No lubricate. That area of the body does not lubricate. And if you go ahead and if you go there without lubrication, then you can actually tear the whole rectal cavity. I know a woman who had rectal surgery from having anal sex like that. It can do severe damage, actually. And you can bleed for days, weeks, sometimes completely tear, need surgery, not have things working either side working properly after going for it, and then on top of it, trauma. But it gets better. Not only did he do this, he then turned around, and because it hurt her, he didn't. Because it hurt her. I know where this is going. Decided, okay, well that's not working. So he goes there, and then she's like, ow. And then because there's no lube, because there's no prep, because there's no talking about this, right? It's just doing it. Then he goes back door to front door. Back door to front door, which is very unsafe sex. Very, very unsafe sex. Because now we are taking things that belong here and that leave there, naturally, byproducts that leave.
And should not be other places.
Should not be going other places. And we are now introducing them to a very sensitive location that we will just wreak havoc on this and cause the woman massive sickness. And everywhere from urinary tract to infections to different cervical issues going on, actual massive bacteria growth in there, and infections completely can mess somebody up.
And really bad. Even just in hearing that, you take out the infections and all that, which is, that's
I'm just saying, my girl Mary's over here that she says she makes it through this whole thing without something coming up.
Yeah,
because it's wow, let's go for bare sex with somebody that we just met, that we're just taking their words for, that we don't know, we're not doing anything, and then adding in that we're having dry sex and rough sex and fast sex, and then we're having anal sex without any lubrication, and then we're flipping anal back to vaginal, and this all happened in under 15 minutes.
Which is the part that's why I said this is crazy. Here's the deal, it's not even it is the bacteria and all of that, and the front door, back door bacteria, because that is a massive issue.
Door, people, you do not go to the front door, and you do not go to this. No, you go, if you want to go anyplace else, you need to go take a shower. A washcloth is not going to cut it, guys. You don't go grab a washcloth and wipe yourself off, because there's little nooks and crannies on men that need to be cleaned properly. Otherwise, it just takes a trace amount, and yeah.
But even this, you said safe sex, it wasn't safe sex just because also there was no conversation on boundaries and what we like, or prep, or warm up. It was, that is the crazy part to me, that we step into these sexual situations not being able to talk about our sex.
Wait, you mean you have to talk to the person that you're having sex with?
So if I had a 16-year-old girl come to me and go, I want to have sex for the first time, I would go, one of my first questions is, well, are you guys talking about it? Have you talked about it?
Well, yeah,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, no, I happen to have a 16-year-old. So.
I know, but it's
here, and I've had this conversation. So what are you talking about? Well, we want to do it.
But then you need.
He wants to try anal.
That hurts my head. Which then I would go. You might want to wait and have some more conversations. But I would have
We can't do it in the car.
No. Well, you can do it in the car. That's fine. Maybe not
the first time. He's waiting outside. I'll be back. I'll tell you how it is.
You're making this complicated. what I'm saying is that you would not have a teenager come up to you and you go, oh, it's okay that you guys have never talked about sex. Go, just have it. No, you would go, you guys need to go talk about it. And then there would, because it's a 16-year-old, you would go into some education and, okay, you would help them figure out, okay, well, this is what the questions you guys need to be talking about. And this is kind of the educational pieces, like, because they obviously don't know about.
At 50, they don't know, so
but,
are they going to know at 16?
But my response would be, if you're not able to talk about it, then you shouldn't be doing it to a 16-year-old. The same thing happens at 50. If you're not able to talk about your sex, if you're going like this, you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be having sex. You're not old enough to be having sex.
Talking about it does not mean, hey, babe, send me, a picture of you masturbating. Or, hey, babe, flash me your boobs. This is not talking about sex. Talking about sex, even at this level, is not what do you desire? Are you hot for me? That's not talking about sex. We're talking about actually talking about sex. The way we are talking about sex right now, the conversation that we're having of talking about what is safe sex, what are my boundaries, what are my needs, how, what is the basic game plan here in the sex, as to like
what are you not okay? Yeah, boundaries. What are you not okay with?
What are you okay with? Like what
have you done?
Yeah.
How many people have you been with? Like what? Like not that the number matters, but like it's important to know.
I mean, are we talking?
Are you bare with if somebody's?
How many bare partners have you had? Like that's one I'm like I don't ever talk about my number, but I will talk about my bare sex number, because my bare sex number is just a handful of people, where my other number's not so much.
Well, and it's not about the number, it's about the communication of opening up and sharing with each other.
But when you're talking about like bare sex,
bare sex is important.
I know a man. Go figure. I know a man who I had this conversation with. I mean, conversation around bare sex, and I was like, well, it's like 5. You're number, you're one of 5, and he was like,
including my children.
He's like, okay. He's like, so how do you handle like? I've been with over 100 women. And I was like, bare sex. He's like,
that's a lot of energy exchange right there.
A lot of energy exchange. That's a lot of potential for lots of stuff to happen. But over 100 women in his lifetime, in his sexual lifetime. Over 100 women. Now, the 100, I don't really care. The 100 bare is the problem, because this person actually was getting tested. So, and when I knew it was clean. But it was one of those things that if he had brought that to the table earlier in our relationship, I probably would have been like, we need to slow down just a little bit. We need to slow down just a little bit.
Yeah.
And admittedly, I never used a condom with him. It was one of those, like, he is one of my bare guys. And it was one of those things that, I got caught up in the moment. So it happens to all of us. Even when you really know it, it still happens. You can get caught. But the difference is that when you understand and you know and you're having the conversations and you have the education, then you're actually going to bring those conversations up to the other person. Even if you've already gone there and done it, you can at least come back and go, let's have a conversation.
And how about even like have safe sex? One of the conversations should be even what turns you on, what really opens you up. Like what is there's a gentleman in my life currently. And like I'm like I'm about to
show him this video. I show him videos. You're like,
I'm about to change my topic. No, but
I'll listen to it. But no,
I asked him. Please don't ruin my relationship. No, but I asked him like, well, what turns you on? Like, what feels good? Like, because that is a piece of safe sex. Because if a partner is not open and really turned on and really orgasmic, to jump into penetrative sex is going to not always end badly, because there are those times we luck out, but it is not going to be a great experience, and the potential of it it going very, very south is high. I can't tell you. I remember, like, back in the day when I was not speaking my, like, oh, I really want this, I really desire this, this feels good to me. Like, when I first started having sex, and well, you had a very interesting beginning of your sexual awakening as a kid.
Yeah,
as a girl. But I remember, like, how many, like, that actually builds trauma up in the body if you're not having really open sex. Or if your partner is doing things in the middle of sex that startle the body, that
that's
horrible. Will also.
It's horrible.
And then there's
to be able to have those conversations, because that startling or that triggering, I mean, that is going to throw either person, because it can happen to men and to women. It does more frequently happen to women, but I and I say that because guys don't complain about it. Guys don't bring it to the table.
They have their fair share.
But I think that they have their fair share of trauma, and I mean, I'm sure that it happens to men.
You hear more about men's trauma when we're talking about blowjobs, because a lot of them have trauma stories around that.
Yes.
Because, they do.
And then they make light about it and they go, yeah, I'm good with anything except for teeth. Yes. I've heard that one numerous times. I'm good with anything except for teeth.
But that shows almost a fear.
Right.
And, and so sometimes it is, not sometimes, it's always important to have these conversations. I remember for a while, I had a really, back a couple years ago, I had a really bad situation in one particular position happen. And after that, for a good 2 years, I would have this conversation of, guess what? Like, we're not putting me in that position, because what I do is I go, right. Because, how the position was, I had no control, and things like that. And so what ended up happening is I had to have this conversation, but that was a piece of safe sex. Because what would ended up happening is I would have shut down, he would have had more opportunity to do damage, because my body was shutting down, not because he wasn't doing what whoever I was talking about at that time, wasn't doing what they needed to, but I would have been shutting down. So that's a piece of safe sex.
That's a very important, I mean, and here's the thing, like, you had a traumatic moment in your sex that caused that. Now, just last year, I had a leg injury, right? And this leg injury has messed up my hip. So, my hip causes lots of issues in the middle of sex for me. I have to consistently have this conversation about my sex to my partner, because I'll end up in a position and it's like, if my hip flexor gets hit wrong, I want to come out of my skin, I'm ready to cry, I'm mad, it hurts so bad that it just ruins the whole moment. So I have to then consistently go, all right, no, I need to adjust, I need to do this, because I'm working on getting my leg back into the alignment where it needs to be. And in that process of healing, I have to vocalize my needs for safe sex, because it would be very unsafe. I've actually, this scary little fact about our bodies, how aligned they are. You know about this. So in the midst of this whole leg thing, I'll sometimes get, like, if I don't do enough yoga, if I get too stressed or tense or anything, I'm not taking care of my body the way it's demanding me to do these days.
What, you don't take perfect care of your body at all times?
No. Then what'll happen is I'll end up in all this stress and this tension, and I'll even lock down in my jaw, my neck, my shoulder, my whole back, and down my leg. And then I've had it happen 2 or 3 times now. I know everybody's texting. I've had it 2 or 3 times now.
Your phone's like,
where I will have sex, and it won't even be rough sex, but I will end up covering the bed in blood. And it's because of that hip flexor. It's because of my hip flexor. Something just gets out of alignment just right. And even with it not being rough sex, I end up tearing from the sex, but I'm like in an orgasmic state, so I don't even feel it happening. It feels all good to me. And then to my astonishment, when everything is over and done with, I've got like a dead person. It looks like either my period happened really bad all of a sudden, or somebody got killed here. Like, it sounds like, what the heck happened to my pretty white sheets? That's why. And it's just one of those
Halloween happened.
It's like your bedroom. But that is a safe sex thing also. I mean, so
yes.
And I bring that up because safe sex is sex is not just about our sexual organs. Sex is about our mind. It's about our emotions.
Stress.
It's about stress level. It's about what is going on with your physical body, you know?
And you brought up mind, and one of the things that I really, coming into this, because we knew we were going to do this topic, usually we do not know what we're going to do prior, we don't like plan this, but we've been planning this for like a week now. But one thing I really wanted to talk about is also the energetics of safe sex, because there's this level that we don't think about in sharing our vibration, sharing our emotions, inserting yourself into somebody who could be having a horrible day, bad energy, and it rubbing off on you. I think we've all, and I know you have an amazing story to go with this, but I know I have had sex with somebody and been like, I was in a great mood before this, and now I feel sick. There's been times when I'm like, I feel like I have the flu and I just had sex and I actually was perfectly fine prior to this, and now I feel like heavy and gross and like just and it could have been fine sex or even good sex.
You know, we talk about this in our orgasm camp a couple times a year too, that, you know, it's one of those topics where you don't realize that if you are going, don't use your partner as your Prozac, as your antidepressant or your anger management, because you are actually exchanging energy there. I've had sex numerous times when my partner was mad, stressed out, you know, all this different stuff, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, from this great state, and I can even have an orgasm in it, and then I start to get kind of just afterwards, and I was like, go to bed feeling fine, have sex, wake up in the morning mad as heck, and I'm like, what the heck happened? I didn't have a bad dream, didn't have anything, we haven't fought, we had sex, and he tells me, oh, I was so mad last night, blah 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 blah.
But the sex made me happier.
The sex made me happier. Oh, great. You just gave it all to me. Thank you. Thank you very much. Like, you should have told me that you were in that crappy of a mood. You know, like, that's just not cool for you to bless me with that. Not even knowing. And we do that a lot with each other. I mean, women do it to men with the same way. We open up, you know, I have this statement to guys where I'm like, don't go to bed with crazy. Because, you know what? If you go to bed with crazy, you're going to wake up with chaos in your world. And if you're just going, and this is where you look nice, let's go to bed, you know, oh yeah, well, crazy can look really nice and really pretty and very seductive and very everything else, and if you're just thinking with that one area of your body and you're trying to reduce your stress, you're trying to you know set your mind at ease, just chill out, be a side thing going
or
on
if
there.
You're upset that you're having sex and so you're just laying there and letting him have his way with you, or her, because we don't want to be, you know, gender specific here, but if you're just letting somebody have sex with you just because you just want it to be over and be done with, you're also sending negative energy to that other person, and that other person will not actually have what you're trying to, I'm going to use the word, provide. Not even gift, but provide for them.
Yeah. Which all comes back to safety, because basis of safe sex is, number one, both parties really should want to be there and doing it. Meaning that they're both present and turned on.
Yes.
Both parties should be speaking about sex to the people that they're having sex with. And both parties should be truthful as possible.
And keep their sexual health up by getting checked out,
and speaking your boundaries.
Yes.
You know, speaking your boundaries. If you feel like you're getting dry, then say, I'm getting dry, we need a little lube here. Spit does not qualify for lube. But it, you know, like, sorry, it's true. While we're
you don't have to say sorry. I'm just like, we are on free. We are going free on Free Spirit Talks today. We talk like,
but it is. I mean, like, speak your boundaries. If you're feeling this, if you're feeling that, if you feel like your partner left the building but their body's still there, then maybe
Say
slow down,
something.
say something. If you know, like if you're a woman and your guy is in this mood and you're like, man, I think he's just trying to get off because he's stressed out, maybe just hand on chest and go, honey,
Let's slow
where are you
down.
at? Let's slow down. I don't feel you. You're not with me anymore. I feel a lot of anger coming at me. That might just make him go, whoa, how, you know, like what the heck? That's not what I want right now. I mean, if he loves you, if he cares for you, the proper response should be, that's not what I want to give to her right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and vice versa. Guys, if you feel that your lady's not into it, then you need to ask yourself, like, are you really, is that what you're there for? Is just to use her as your masturbation tool? Because that is actually a form of rape then. It is not love. This is not, it's just, she owes you nothing. You know?
It
Neither
is.
party
It
owes
all
the
comes
other.
down to communication.
It
It
does.
all comes down to opening your mouths and growing up. Like, it drives me nuts because it's like, grow up and talk about what you don't mind talking about in the locker room. You don't mind talking about with your girlfriends, but you can't talk about sex with the person that you're actually having sex with, and that you're saying you want it so bad, but you're not willing to open your mouth and at least communicate. Yes, it can be an embarrassing conversation. No, it's not always easy, even for us, and we talk about sex all day long, and it's not
There's still
always
conversations
easy.
where you go, whoa, I can't believe we're having this conversation, or whoa, I can't believe I need to have this conversation. How do I go about it?
Or I feel a little
No,
shame
I
coming
feel
up with
right.
this, or
No.
it's okay, but it is about definitely having that mature conversation with others in your life. So if you want more of this, you can definitely check out our orgasm camp in December, because
That's right.
we can go on these topics for hours,
Okay.
literally hours.
But
We
I
can
think I
talk
have
about-
somebody waiting.
but
in the
you do
lobby.
have somebody.
So,
So
since my thingy said,
I'm in the lobby.
Yeah, and if you're watching, I know you're in the lobby. I'm coming your direction.
So
yeah. All right. So what do you have going on?
I have my birthday bash.
That's
Blow
because she's
out.
now going to be middle aged. I just found out on Wednesday.
So I am offering $40 for some of my favorite.
She's not turning 40.
I'm not sure, but it was a good number. 40 is a good number for some of these programs. So no, I'm turning 34.
That's middle aged. So for anybody who's over the age of 34, now you know. Addison said you're middle aged. But buy her $40 deal. That's really, really
Buy
good.
my $40 deal, and
It's a
you
little
get
bit
a
closer
deal
to
on my
middle age,
consult
at
if
least.
you want to do one-on-one coaching with me. You get a deal. You can go to my website, addisonbell.net, and you can find that. And then we are also going to be doing a course from Belize coming up on October 11th. We were super excited. Well, I'm super excited about Belize. I might drown her in Belize if she doesn't come back. Then
We're taking a golf cart and I'm going to drive it off of a cliff because you're going to drive me crazy because I have to sleep with crazy. No.
we're going to be like Addison and Kendall unleashed on the golf cart. It's going to be fun.
No, we are going to be doing the Unlived Life from Belize.
Yes,
So.
and that's coming out in the next few days, so
Yes,
be on the
it
lookout.
is.
What do you got going on?
Me, I have a lot going on. Tantric practitionership is going on. Registration ends this week, and we'll be going to Costa Rica in May to
Woo!
finish that up. I'm excited about that.
Golf
because
carts
we all
might
know
be
that
involved.
golf carts will not be involved in Costa Rica, at least not for most of the trip. But yeah, so that is a whole certification course for anybody who is a holistic practitioner of any sort or wants to become one. We're going to be going through a whole bunch of different levels of what the tantric practice really is, not just the bodywork aspect, but everything that you hear me talking about and writing about and teaching about in other areas of my coaching practice is going to be covered in this in great depth. And then, let me see. That's the biggest one that I have going on. There's lots
you've
of, I
got
have
lots
lots
of
of little,
stuff
I
going on.
always have something going on. I mean, I got bondage going on in October. Woo!
Mhm.
Guess what we're going to be talking about at the bondage class?
Bondage and safe
We're going to be
sex.
talking about safe sex. We're going to be talking about communication and boundaries and non-negotiables.
Because people in that lifestyle are
That's
usually better
So,
at.
if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, or if you can get your bun here, then know that Get Naughty 4.0, because it's my 4th year teaching with Michael Harris, this class. It will be on the 5th of October.
Yeah.
Did I get that right? I think it's the 5th of October. It's on my website. It's on my events
I
tab,
think it's
along with a whole bunch of other
It's
stuff.
on the 5th.
It is there, and I've always got stuff going on.
Yeah, our calendars are always popping.
I'm going to put this out there because it came to me earlier, and so I'm going to make this announcement. She doesn't know that I'm doing this because it's not on the schedule, and we went through the whole events and planned out the whole year. Our schedules are making them all work, so I'm going to throw a wrench in the system now.
Okay.
Here we go.
Cool.
Wrench. I'm actually going to be relaunching my Not Your Average Joe this fall. Is going to be coming out probably in October. It will be my online course, my personal online course, because her and I are teaching a course together. Then I've got the local bondage class, so I'm going to be putting out the Not Your Average Joe, which is for all the men out there to learn true tantric skills, talking about their sex, learning about their health, about their sex, how to last longer, of course, how to pleasure a woman better, all that good stuff. And yeah, so it will be, I got to figure out the date because it just kind of came into me earlier today when I was working on stuff, and I was like, you know what? This is a tantric end of the year, and I'm going to make it a tantric end of the year and provide something.
And we both have pujas going on too. Yeah. So just go to our events page and you'll see it all. So
local, online, it's all there.
Yeah.
So
AddisonBell.net
and KendallWilliams.com.
Sorry.
That's fine.
All right. Bye guys. Thank you for watching.